All right, we are here.
He needs no introduction.
Week 4, episode 10. We talk about the only thing you need to get on Trilogy Lacrosse Theater is championships, a little bit of personality. You got to be a beauty. And Doc, you are certainly fall into all those categories. Welcome to the Trilogy Lacrosse Theater. Where are we coming in from, Doc?
Dude, we're coming in hot from Lafayette Hill, Pennsylvania, in flat-out quarantine. I believe it's about 27 days now, so I'm borderline losing my mind / I'm in a great place, so who knows?
What's your situation at home? You have a couple kids?
Yeah, I have a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old that absolutely loathe each other, and I am now responsible for homeschooling them and then keeping them away from each other's throats.
What does the homeschool situation look like?
Dude, it's brutal. It's so tough. So my wife is like a flat out stud attorney. She's a partner in a law firm. She works all day. God bless her. She earns all the money. I am in charge of waking up and getting them on a computer, homeschooling them, like basically walking them through their stuff, making sure they're doing their readings, their writings, their maths. And then on top of that, making sure, most importantly, that they don't kill each other. So 33 days in the same house without going anywhere, like, I don't know if you guys have brothers or sisters, but you could just imagine what that would be like.
What is the biggest thing from a lesson plan where you like, oh, I kind of forgot that? Is there anything that you picked up from your
everything, Ryan? So like 5th grade math, you're going to be shocked about what you don't know. Literally 5th grade math, you're like, oh my God, it's like fractions and like, doing the whole fraction from like 1 2/3 and doing the whole numerator.
Like what's 1/3 times 1/4, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like it boggles your mind, and of course they just don't teach everything like they did before. So now it's like a whole new thing. So then if you do it wrong, and you teach your kid the wrong way that the actual teacher is teaching them, they freak out on you. You don't know what you're doing. You're stupid.
This is your kids or the other teachers?
It's the kids, so it's like, oh, so it's brutal, but yet at the same time, it's really cool because we get to pause and just kind of like reset. My 8-year-old is now playing lacrosse, which I love. I get to go out there and teach him and do all that kind of stuff. But like the teaching part of the whole thing is tough, man. It's no joke. Like you got a 6-week-old RB, and I'm sure that's challenging in itself, but you don't have to teach them anything. You just have to keep them occupied.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and I've got a 3 and a 1.5-year-old, and I feel lucky that it's mostly just having fun. So,
yeah. What do you have? A 3 and a what?
And a 1.5-year-old. So,
yeah. So like, they still nap and stuff like that, right?
That's the goal. I'd say it's about 75%, but that's a big hour and a half of work gets done in that. And then
right, no joke. 7 and 11 is no joke, man. Like 7 and 11, like we're fighting over here sometimes.
Mitch is running his boys through like a Trilogy clinic. He's got them on a couple laps around the basement, a dynamic off. He's got them doing drills.
Oh yeah, hockey, lacrosse, jumping off things. That's all that's going on right now. All right, you got to give a quick background. What is going on with this filter? It looks like you're sitting in Popovich's belly, but it's not Pop.
So this is my boy Coach Ken, and Coach Ken was like a dude. He was like he went to college with like Tierney and all those guys up at Cortland, and I don't know why I just had him on my background because obviously we've done a lot of Zoom stuff, and I like to like filter my background. Like I have a cheesesteak one I got with me and Matt Rambo. I believe you saw Blaze Reardon sleeping on a plane after we were a little bit overserved on the plane on the ride home. So I like to like throw my backgrounds at like a different thing. So this is Ken McEwen. He's my assistant coach for the Springside Chestnut Hill Devils. He's the man, and he's just chilling right now.
Yeah, and are Blaze and Rambo also coaching with you?
Yeah, so Rambo's my offensive coordinator.
Staff.
Blaze is my middle school coach, so he coaches the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
He's probably great.
And I got this guy named Trevor Baptiste coming in to help my face-off guys. So they all three of those guys live together, and Matt and I have been boys for a long time. Rambo. And then he kind of connected me with Blaze. Me and Blaze have been good for the last couple of years. And then Trevor kind of jumped in this year. And I would argue that we have the best college lacrosse staff or the best staff in the country, regardless of high school, college, youth, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, in terms of if you play players versus coaches, that'd be a tough matchup.
Well, yeah, we let them suit up every once in a while, and we get destroyed.
Nice. Well, let's jump right into it. You know, the fun in this is watching some of the old highlights, and we've got some good ones here. So I'll pop on nice little Brian Dougherty montage here. Anytime you want me to pause, just let me know, and I'll stop it, and you can talk about the people, the places, and the fun.
Doc, it looks like you have a football chin strap on this bucket there.
Which one are we looking at here? I just dropped my phone. Sorry.
We got the accused D midi with a
jump shot to the clavicle. We lost Doc.
Oh God. Cops.
Doc, how come in college, like you gave your stick, like it gave up a lot of rebounds? Was that more of a technology thing with the sticks in that era?
Yeah, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, hold on. It's Bilal. Doc's iPhone, me.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Who's older, you or Casey Powell? Roy's the oldest, right?
So can you guys see me now?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool. I was a junior. Casey was a freshman.
Okay.
So,
and then Roy is about
Roy and I are the same year. No, Roy might be a year older than me.
Okay. All right. So Roy takes the age category. You get beauty. What is this game? This is Cuse versus Maryland. Is this Final Four or championship? Doc.
Dude, guys, stop yelling. Like, I'm trying to figure this out.
We don't need to see you. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, that's what's most important.
Well, I'll tell you what just happened. You had this save in 2010 against Kevin Crawley. I think this is the save of the tournament. And
was that in the championship?
Yeah, that was in the championship. That was a gold medal game. That pretty much was a huge momentum swing.
So I can see you, me, the dude sitting there, RB. Oh, yes, there's me. Go. Kevin, so that I baited the crap out of that last dude. Let's go back to that. We were in Texas Stadium when that was Fiore from the Lizards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You remember RB when that dude stole all the stuff from the Texas Stadium stuff and we got stopped out of the stadium?
I do, yes. Not the proudest garage moment.
Look at the hustle there for that GB.
Doc,
I mean, I was a hustler, bitch. You know, like I would sit there, like that was a little hockey shot that somebody threw there. I mean, I was getting that one.
There was nobody else back there, though.
No, there was. You have to just go back on. Like, I don't want to touch my screen because I don't want to mess anything up again for the 11th time.
Who else is back here right now?
You can see
There's a dude to the right of the official.
the shadow. You can see the shadow in like the last frame.
Yeah, I'm not just
There's a
diving in
shadow
front
right
of
there.
nobody, dude. You know I wouldn't do that. That goes against everything that I believe in.
I thought it was like maybe like a slick turf and you were just like having some fun.
No, I don't dive. I dive when I need to dive.
Barrage years. Barrage, you're going back on staff with the new look Philadelphia Barrage. Excited about that?
Yeah, total. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen this summer, as you guys probably are in the same boat. But you know, I'm totally excited about bringing the Barrage back and coaching with Spencer and Booger and Kevin Keenan. Like, our staff's electrifying. I really like our team with Tommy Palasek, Matthews, Brendan Sunday. We got Chris Madelon in goal. We got like a lot of really good players. So, like, obviously there's a whole PLL MLL thing, and I get it. I'm a big fan of both leagues, the PLL and the MLL. But I'm just excited to kind of be in Philadelphia and driving about 15 or 20 minutes to what I need to do. And whether that's a training camp or a practice or a home game or whatever, you know, and I'm just kind of fired up for that.
Mitch, can we go back to that USA save with Kevin Crowley?
Yeah.
Doc, you know exactly what save I'm talking about, right? I mean, this is golden game, right? I mean, that
one.
Yeah.
This was a 1-goal game that came down to the wire, right? This is in 2010, correct?
Yeah. So if I don't know if you can rewind it even more. This started on a man up from Team Canada. I believe we were down by at least 1 or 2 at that time, and it came to Kevin Huntley, time and room about 9 yards, you know, hands free, and I just kind of popped it in the air. I caught it right at the last second, and, you know, literally almost went in the goal, and I just popped it. It was going like 100 miles an hour. Popped it right up in the air. There was a giant loose ball behind the goal, and then Kevin Cassis, I believe, tried to flip me the ball from behind the goal, and then Crowley picked it up, and you can see what's going on here.
Is that Ryan McClay, 34?
Yeah, Ryan McClay. We had DJ Driscoll, Ryan McClay. Who was our other defenseman?
DJ
Sweeney
Driscoll
was our pole.
every single Trilogy theater, by the way.
That's Nads right there.
Nads covered junior the whole game after about 4 weeks after a ACL tear. Nads was an animal. And Kevin Crowley, to this day, I always break his balls a little bit about this. And no Canadians ever finish low. That's the bottom. That's like the story of, like, the moral of this. And for some reason, I just kind of read it and just kind of went into the butterfly and splits and got it. And we went on a run after that, and we're able to kind of Ned Crowdy kind of came up with 2 or 3 goals, RB, right?
Yep.
Right at the end. And, you know, but that was definitely a huge, like, with those rules, if you get down by 2 or 3, you're done in the fourth quarter, right?
Do you remember when I came up with the ground ball and called timeout? Do you remember that huddle or no? Was that just a huddle? You do?
I do.
Because we got told, Mitch, players were not allowed to call timeout. Remember, Doc?
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, listened intently. Decided otherwise. And because it was like I knew that if we just held the ball the rest of the game, that was the game. But it was like this like crowd, so I just like picked it up and called timeout and got a stern look back in the huddle, let's call it.
I mean, we kept it for like the last like 2.5 minutes, I think.
That's why I called timeout. It's like there's no shot clock. This is the game. It was like we were like holding, like we wanted to save the timeout for like the end of the game. It's like this is the end of the game. This is it.
Was one of the deciding goals like a Casey Powell behind the back in that game too? Wasn't there some ridiculous?
Casey Powell wasn't on our team. Ned Crowdy scored the last 2 goals, which are pretty ridiculous. One was like a I don't know how you would describe him coming around the goal. Boyle, it was like
The high bouncer from
it was a high bounce shot as he was falling on the crease. Like you couldn't like reenact it any other way, you know? Like I feel like he slipped and the ball came out of his stick and it went high. And then he cut some awesome lane and then, you know, beat Sanderson stick side high. I mean, those are his 2 goals, definitely.
Doc, here's your dad talking about, you know, worst thing to be as a goalie, and even worse than that as a goalie's parent. Your dad was a big basketball guy, right? Big basketball coach in Philly.
Yeah, so he was actually like a huge national guy. So great trivia question is Bob Knight. I was born in Newburgh, New York, which is at Army's campus. And so Bob Knight left Army in 1969 to go to Indiana to be the head coach at Indiana. And then my dad was the assistant coach at Villanova, who had just lost the national championship to UCLA in one of John Wooden's like 13 straight national championship years. And so he was hired as the head coach at Army. I was born at Army. And then after, like, this was like Vietnam era, 69 to 73.
Yeah.
My dad got fired. And then Mike Krzyzewski took over and basically moved into my house at Army.
Wow.
So if you want to ask the question of who was the coach at Army before Mike Krzyzewski and after Bob Knight, that would be Dan Dougherty.
And how did was he a lacrosse guy too, or how did you get into lacrosse?
No, I mean, I got into lacrosse from like my neighborhood. So I was literally one of only 3 people in the city of Philadelphia that probably knew what a lacrosse stick was, or even but my best friend was up the street. His name was Matt Donnelly. His brother was the goalie at Penn Charter that went on to play at Navy. So I went down to watch all their games, hung out in the front yard with the Donnellys, kind of got introduced there, but I was still like a baseball guy until 8th grade. Baseball was by far my best sport to this day. I'm convinced that I could have probably played professional baseball if I would have stayed with it.
Were you a catcher?
I was everything, man. I was a shortstop. I was a pitcher. I was a catcher. I played
baseball. I was a ball player.
I was a sick athlete, dude. You know, like I was one of the best basketball players in Pennsylvania. My brother played pro football. My other brother played college basketball. My dad, you know, was one of the best basketball coaches. Like he had a 5-year stint, dude, in Philadelphia against the best. Like this is against Rasheed Wallace, you know, some of the best teams in the city of Philadelphia, and we were 127-9 in 5 years. We're talking like 27-1, 28-2, 29-4, 26-1. Like we were ridiculous. And this is like a small private school, kind of like Gilman, man. Like Episcopal and Gilman are probably pretty similar. And like we went down and destroyed. Who's your?
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
It was a good Baltimore team, dude. With
Dunbar.
No, we didn't do Dunbar. Give me the other one. Cardinal
Gibbons.
Keep going. Keep going.
Well, Calvert Hall, Cardinal Gibbons.
Nope.
Monte Joe.
I got to remember. So bottom line, man, is like I'm a basketball guy. Basketball is my thing. I grew up in a gym. So I would leave kindergarten at Episcopal and basically, you know, during the winter, I would walk over to basketball practice and I would hang out with arguably one of the best coaches in the history and some of the best players. And I would just be in a gym for 6 hours, you know, like from 3 o'clock to practice at 7 o'clock. And that's what I did, man. I was a basketball guy. And then all of a sudden lacrosse kind of came in and I just, got myself thrown into the goal. And, what I like to say is I was one of the better athletes to ever play goalie. Like granted, Greg Kachana was sick. Quint Kessler is pretty good athlete, but back in the day, there wasn't very good athletes playing goalie.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that I was one of the first really good athletes, linebacker on the football team, pitcher on the baseball team, like shortstop, all those guys, to go out there and play and be the goalie. And I kind of, I don't know. I like to think I revolutionized the position a little bit.
6'1", 186. That's fine fighting weight right there. Featherweight Brian Dougherty.
I love the.
I was always 186, dude, because they always let me fill out whatever. They always let me fill out how much my height and weight was. So I was always 6'1", 186. There's a great chance that I was like 232. But if you're gonna let me fill out how much I weigh, it's 186 all day.
I love not 185, not 187, 186. There's now, I think, there's been such a strong Philly to Maryland lineage. Did that exist before you, or is that something that you're credited for starting? And correct me if I'm wrong, but like I always see like the Philly to Maryland thing, and maybe because like there isn't. I mean, no offense to Penn State, because it's not Philly. It's Pennsylvania, but it's not Philly. So there isn't like that same like local option that drew the best Philly guys. Am I speaking out of turn here?
No, not at all. I mean, Philly and Penn, like Delaware County and Penn State has always been huge. Keenan, Sweeney, Drew Adams, all are from the same high school.
Yeah.
That all went to Penn State. But
well, Sweeney went to Georgetown, but
yeah, you're right. Sweeney.
Colors.
Austin Count, I meant to say.
Yeah. Okay.
But for me, like I was by far, like when I started, so I graduated in 1992, and there was only like Billy Miller, who was maybe one of the best attackmen ever. He went to my high school. He went to Hobart. We had Gabby Rowe that went to Virginia in 1987. Nobody went to Maryland, like I would think that my graduating class, like, so we always had a chip on our shoulder from Philly. We hated the Baltimore kids. We hated the Long Island kids. Like we hated all those kids because we never got really any respect. And then my graduating year, it was Greg Traynor from Virginia. Mm-hmm. It was Matt Oglesby from Duke.
Yep.
It was myself from Maryland. It was Jeff McBean from Princeton. It was Buzza from Penn State.
Yeah.
Mike Buzza that ended up playing on the wings. Then you had the whole wings thing that was awesome. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you had all these guys playing for the Philadelphia Wings, like Scott Gabrielson, Paulie Denikin,
Slater,
John McAvoy, Brett, Billy Miller, and then you threw in Gary Gate, Paul Gate, Tom Marichek, and Dallas Elliott, and they were awesome. But Philly, in my opinion, Philly really, blossomed with my graduating class: Greg Traynor, Matt Oglesby, ACC Player of the Year, Greg Traynor, second team All-American, Brian Dougherty. So now teams from Roy Simmons had to come down from Syracuse to start recruiting. Like they never recruited down here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had to come down and kind of, they're like, well, this dude is, saving every shot that any of my guys are throwing at him. I might want to go check out what Philadelphia has to offer. So,
and did that start with most of the Interact schools, like Episcopal? You mentioned Penn Charter. Was it mostly like the mainline Interact schools that were?
It was definitely those schools. I mean, like a lot of those schools didn't, right now everybody plays. But Greg Traynor went to Conestoga, which was a not an Interact school. You had myself. Buzza went to Ridley. You know, like then you throw in the whole Ridley Springfield thing, which was Ridley. You know, produced Buzza, Brett Moyer, Billy McGlone.
Well, B-Mac.
Those teams were so good, dude, and they were right after me. Springfield, Sweeney, you know, Keenan, Cal,
Johnny Brasco.
Johnny Brasco, you know, like, and then like, so like, I don't know, like you always had the MIAA, which was, you know, they were awesome. It was Loyola, Gilman, and St. Paul's, and BL, and all those guys. And then you had the Long Island teams, and everybody knew all those there. And then there was West Jenny, right? And then everybody had that. But all of a sudden, Philly came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And was just kind of blew up within 8 years.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just a cool thing to watch. It was a cool thing to I'd like to think that I was kind of a pioneer in that aspect, you know. You know, and in our game, Tom Slate, dude, Slate was so sick.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I'd like to think Philly, you know, like, and right now, you know, Philly's one of the best places in the country to recruit.
Matt McMonagle, another Episcopal goalie, is my college goalie and roommate.
Yep. I coached him too as well, man. Lefty, love him.
Yeah. What was your last year in the ML? Was that 2008 with the Lizards?
It was 2009 with the Lizards, and then I took a year off, and then played 2010. And I played with the GMH and the US because the rules stated that I had to play with some team while I was playing with the world team, which was 2010. So I played with GMH. We won GMH's first title in 2010, and I was playing in like this like weird place in Catonsville.
Imagine being a men's club player, just rolling out, just thinking, "Oh, this is gonna be great."
A few beers after the game, after we get a nice dub.
No, we killed them. And I was talking smack to them too, you know, like they were like, "Oh yeah, you're on the world team." I'm like, "Yeah, you're damn right, I'm on the world team. You suck." That shot was going like 18 miles an hour.
All right, we'll go couple quick fire questions.
Oh, good Lord!
And I'm curious about this one first and foremost because you're probably considered in the top there. Who do you think who's the best trash talker that you've ever encountered?
Oh,
I mean, me first and foremost, and secondary and thirdly.
Where does that
after that? I don't know. Like nobody did anything for me. I think Brian Reese was probably a pretty good trash talker.
Who was your favorite person to talk trash to?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Everybody and anybody. You know, like I didn't discriminate, I didn't segregate. I didn't really care.
There weren't a couple that you were
where you were from or what happened. Like I wanted a piece of you. Because to me, trash talking was like, it wasn't like, "Hey, you know, Ryan, you're from Baltimore. You've got all these things." It was like, it got me going, you know, like it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Was your dad a trash talker?
No, he hated it, dude. My dad literally would want to strangle me after every game.
You said you're too.
He's like, dude, you know, like if you were to take the most trash talking person in the world and then take the most anti-trash talking person in the world, that'd be my dad and myself's relationship.
Amazing.
It was brutal, dude. Like he'd be like, "Why do you got to say that?" And I'm like, you know what? Because I just need to get going. You know, like it had nothing to do with you, Mitch. You know, like you're probably a great guy. I'm sure you do great things with the community. I'm sure you love your mom and dad. Blah blah blah. I don't really give a shit. You know, like I'm coming at you. Your beard looks stupid. Your beards look stupid. Your nose is really close to your face. You know, like. Your Adam's apple pops out. There's a lot of things that I'm going to kind of come at you with that has nothing to do with you. And it wasn't about that, dude. Like, it just, to me, like, that's what needed to get me going.
That I've always thought that the best trash talkers are ones that are just they can pinpoint the insecurity and they can just hammer it home like right away, laser focused. What do you think your best?
So you would find a guy that was a little overweight that would pull his shorts down, right? So anybody that pulled their shorts down a little bit, that was a little heavy, was like insecure about their weight. And I realized, because I did that, because I was fat too. You know what I mean? But I didn't give a shit. You know, like, sorry for cursing. I don't really care, you know, like, but I'm coming at you. Like, what are you pulling your shorts down for, huh? Tubby? Jeez. What else you got going on over there?
All right. Favorite place to play?
I mean, Bird Stadium, obviously.
Yeah. Least favorite place to play?
Least favorite place to play, definitely down to the Carolinas. Duke and North Carolina. I hated those places because they used to bring the North Carolina used to bring a football player out, and he used to follow me around. And this dude was the best trash talker I've ever heard in my entire life. He was like an offensive lineman. They used to pay him to come follow me back and forth.
Happy Gilmore style?
Oh my God. It was definitely Happy Gilmore. Like, it was brutal. Like, to the point where I like told my brother, who was at the game one time, and he like played football he was like a fullback for the New York Giants. I'm like, dude, you got to find this guy and kill him. You know, like, this is in the middle of the game. Like, he rattled me so bad. That was the only dude that ever rattled me in my entire life, was down in North Carolina.
Oh,
so I'm going to say North Carolina, Duke. I hated
footage of that. Best teammate you've ever had?
Brian Spallina, not even close.
Who is your nemesis, your on-field nemesis?
I would say Greg Catrano. And I don't think he was my nemesis, but he pushed me. You know, like, I always measured myself against him. So I don't know if you call that a nemesis or not. But
I think that's good. That's fair.
Can you explain quickly, back to the Spallina point? This always was a point of contention on barrage teams. Mitch, you'll appreciate this. Brian, if you aren't familiar with him, got a fair amount of penalties. And Doc actually enjoyed the penalties. He actually appreciated the penalties. Our coaching staff and offense felt a little bit differently, but Doc was actually in favor of more
shots, right?
More penalties. We want actually more penalties.
Yeah, so it was I love that, dude. I really did. So, number one, I didn't really hate playing man down. And it was the whole philosophy of, you know, people running through the middle of it, like, so it's like indoor, right? Like, you guys both played indoor. What happens when you ran through the middle of the offensive set and indoor?
Give him a nice one.
You got destroyed, right?
Get him out of there.
you got absolutely destroyed. So it was the same thing in outdoor, where I was like, Brian, just kill everybody. You know, like, I don't care if we play man down and this, like, and Brian really appreciated it, because everybody that he ever played with, like, they never told him that before. They were all the same thing as Boyle was like, stop taking penalties, or you man down too much.
Whoa.
Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, kill everybody. Kill him, kill his brother, kill his sister. Anybody that runs through there, kill everybody, and then we'll figure it out later.
I appreciated the value of the tough penalty. Don't get me wrong. I was projecting a certain thing. The only time was just like when it was like, oh my God, we're man down again. Like,
of course, the offense hates it, and the goalie who gets the shots loves it, right? It's like make them shoot from outside. You had a good defense with both the barrage, even that.
No, every other goalie that has played with him hated it.
Yeah.
But that's what made us great. That's what made Brian and myself's relationship unbelievable. Was that I was like, dude, I want you to, like, I want you to stab somebody in the throat. You know what I mean? Like, take your butt end and stab him in the throat. And then, you know what? The next time, you know what he's not going to do? He's not going to go anywhere near, this 12 by 12 area that we call the heart. You know what I mean? So kill him, kill his sister, kill his brother, kill everybody. We're going to kill him. I'll do the same thing as well. We're just going to kill everybody. And you know what? If they get a couple man-ups, that's great. It's the MLL. You score 17 goals. Great. You get 3 on man-up. You know what I mean? But I get 9 times to where I can stab you in the heart that you don't even really see. I mean, Mitch, you did the same things. How many times did you just slash and murder a guy
Mitch,
in the MLL?
You would have loved playing with Doc.
I would have loved it, dude. I would have encouraged everything that you would have brought to the table, bro.
You brought the NLL. You played 2 years in the NLL?
4 years.
What was that experience like, trying to make that jump? Because you obviously had the wings to look up to, Dallas, LA, like you brought up. Was it a tough switch over?
Yeah, it was like I was horrible. I was horrible at the NLL. So Dallas was so good. He was. And
you played goalie, right? You were not playing.
Yes, I was a goalie. They didn't give me any equipment, dude. So I was like, the first 2 years I was in Baltimore, and I was like the 4th pick in the draft, and I basically made my own equipment. I put football shoulder pads on. I had regular lacrosse gloves on. So, I would put my hand up to make a save, and it was a lacrosse glove, and it would hit me so hard. After the first 2, I would just stop putting my hand up there. I would let it go in practice because I was literally breaking my hand every time I put my hand up there. I had nothing on my arms. I had nothing from my shoulder to my wrist was nothing. So they didn't give me any equipment. They didn't teach me how to do it. Nobody taught me anything. And then I was an outdoor goalie. So I was baiting people and indoor. That's what you want. I was jumping out of the goal. So Tom Marechek would catch the ball and throw a fake. And I would jump completely out of the goal. And the whole goal, literally the whole goal is wide open. So it was the exact opposite of everything that I've ever been taught before.
Well, probably made up for it in the field game for sure. Any number one, if you had to pick an A1 memory, lacrosse memory, what would that be?
Dude, I've had so many awesome A1 memories. I would think 1995 beating Hopkins in the semifinals was arguably my greatest memory.
The greatest singular goalie performance I've ever witnessed. I was actually in the stands at Bird Stadium, Doc.
You were?
Yep, I was in the stands.
Where were you sitting?
End zone. So opposite the locker rooms.
Yeah.
Zone. Never forget it. I'm sitting in the stands, and there's these guys maybe a row down from me and over, and I'm watching super intently because I'm totally into this. I'm not distracted or running around, and this 2 guys are talking, and they're knowledgeable, and they're talking about the game, and they're
how old were you?
95. I was 14.
Nice.
So this guy's watch the Maryland goal. I'm eavesdropping. He's the Maryland goalie sets up and then just flies away from his stick side every single shot. And so they shoot it at his stick. He makes the save, but they see all this net away from his stick and they shoot it there. But then he moves his body over there. They're I've never seen anything like it. And I'm processing this information as a 14-year-old. And I'm I've never seen this either. I've never heard of baiting before. And it's the singular greatest team that I've ever seen in my lifetime, the 95 Hop offense. And this one person, Mitch, this one player is just basically turned a lacrosse game into a game of tic-tac-toe or rock, paper, scissors. And it's just totally playing with their shooters' minds where they have no idea when he's going to go somewhere, where he's going to go. He's just like basically got an apartment in Terry Reardon's head. Is just like totally flummoxed the entire offense to the point where they just have like no clue what to do. It's the single most dominant goalie performance I've ever seen, and I'll never forget it. Exactly. Like I still remember eavesdropping on that conversation and being in the stands, like where I was sitting for that game.
Where did that baiting come from? Is that, Doc, is that something someone taught you? Is that something you just...
No, I completely made it up, Mitch. I created it. I revolutionized it. I patented it. I did everything about it. So my whole thing was, all right, when I started playing goalie, I was like, you know what's really hard about playing goalie? And everyone's like, what? I'm like, I just don't know where they're going to shoot. You know what I mean? They could shoot this way. They could shoot that way. They could shoot high. They could shoot low. They could shoot to the middle. They could shoot my 5-hole. And then the whole defense started to where, all right, we're going to push everybody down the alleys, right? Yeah. So when we push everybody down the alleys, then I started thinking like, well, you know what I could do? I could just line up this way and everybody's going to go down the alleys. And where does every shooter like to shoot, right? They like to shoot across their bodies. They like to shoot far side, yada, yada, yada. And then I was like, and it just kind of came to me. And I just started doing it. You know, I just started baiting short side every time. So every time somebody came down the alley, like I didn't have a whole lot of answers for people coming around the goal from behind the goal, you know, but back then in our day, that didn't happen a whole lot. Everything was generated from up top, and people would dodge down the alleys. I would hold the near side, and I would bait them to shoot to the far side. And quite frankly, I made it up, and I'm like, whoa, this is way easier. Like I actually know where they're going to shoot because you can't do it. It's like a siren. You know what I mean? It's like you're sailing in the middle of the seas, and there's just this voice going, oh, come shoot over here. You have to do it. You know what I mean? And like you can't stop doing it. You know, like I lined up a certain way, and I made you shoot to a certain spot.
Guys probably knew what you were doing, knew not to do it, and still, I think
they couldn't help it.
I'm not even, we've talked to a lot of amazing lacrosse players. I'm always blown away by certain guys' ability, and Ryan, especially to like recall specific plays and, exact situations. I have such a poor memory with that kind of stuff. I remember moments, but not like in what game or what year. But there's one game, and I think it was your final year or one of your last years, when it was Boston versus the Lizards in overtime, and Sweeney had a look to either tie it up.
Oh, yes.
And you baited him, and that's like a prime example. Like Sweeney played for you for years. He knew what you were doing.
He knew exactly what I was doing.
And you made that save, and I was like, oh my God. I remember that one. That's one of the few that sticks out so solid in my memory. And I actually think there's a in the highlight we watched, you like lift up your jersey to the sidelines. I think that was from that game when you made that save.
It is 100%.
Were you were on the cans for that game, right?
Yeah. Sadly.
Sorry, Ray.
It's okay. It was weird playing against you.
No, I didn't like it at all. So I'll tell you a great Ryan Boyle story if you have a few minutes. I don't know.
Let's do it.
Do you guys want to end it this way or whatever?
Yeah, sure. Let's end turning the camera back around.
Depends on.
So I was so picture this. So I'm a left-handed goalie, and Ryan is a right-handed ex-attackman, right? So Ryan would always kind of come up from behind the goal, right-handed. And he would always, whether it would be a man up, maybe he got a step on his guy, he did whatever, and he would get to the middle right-handed, like right on top of the crease. And he would always wait for me to leave the pipe. And this is my fun little game that I had with Coach Boyle. is that I would never leave the pipe. So, like, he was so tuned to him coming around the goal right-handed, beating his attackman, beating his defenseman, man up, whatever the situation may be, and he would come around the crease, and I would never leave the pipe because he was always waiting for me to leave the pipe so he could stick it to the near side, right? Like, that was what he was trained to do. And it got cool when he got to, like, maybe like one step, maybe two step. But after he got to, like, the middle of the goal, I still wouldn't move because it was practice. Like, I didn't really give a shit. You know what I mean? So, like, and I hardly ever got in there practice to begin with. But I wouldn't move. I wouldn't move. And he would keep going, and he just wouldn't shoot it to the open side of the goal. Like, I don't know if you're following this or not, or if I could draw it up on some form of a whiteboard.
No, you're painting a clear picture here.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't do it, dude. He was so trained to, like, wait till the left-handed goalie would move off the pipe.
I'd be like, why
stick
aren't
it
you
to the
getting
near
off the pipe?
side? That like it was like a fun little game that I used to play with.
It was rock, paper, scissors, and he wouldn't stop throwing rock. I'm like,
Do you remember what I'm talking about, Ryan?
Yes. I'd be like, you've got to change it up to scissors or paper eventually. You've got to get off the pipe. Like, I remember yelling at you, like, why aren't you getting off the pipe? And you're like, it's that part of the net. It's just, why don't you just...
So how would these reps end? Would you just run past the crease and not shoot?
Just hammer it in the chest.
You'd hit me right in the helmet.
And he'd be hugging the pipe and I just hammer. And I'd be like, why didn't you move? He's like, what are you talking about? I saved the ball. I didn't give it. You're supposed to move. And he's like, but I didn't.
Oh my God.
That was my favorite, dude. That's one of my favorite Ryan Boyle moments of all time.
Like,
there's a lot of them.
Like halfway across the cage and just staring at him like, shit.
I'm just imagining you just keep running around the crease for a second time.
Yeah, he would he might as well have like ran around like 2 times.
Amazing. Well, Doc, it was an absolute pleasure, and thank you for joining us late here on a Monday night. And good luck, hopefully getting the season back on track. I know we're bummed not to get you out in Arizona this year, but looking forward to hopefully having you guys back next year.
No worries. We're coming next year, bro.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Love you, Doc.
I love you guys.